I don't know how people can consider this a harem show given that the main character gets an official girlfriend in literally the first season, but okay, since we're so insistent on all the characters being allured to Kirito's meat like a sailor to a siren, let's go through all the girls and find out if that is really the case. First one is easy, Asuna. His literal longtime girlfriend for something like 3 or 4 years now. Of course she wants his meat, just like any other healthy couple. If she didn't, that would be quite worrying. No need to waste any more time on this one. Next. Silica. This one is pretty commonly misunderstood. At no point in the series does Silica have romantic feelings for Kirito. In Aincrad, she's literally 12 years old, maybe just turned 13 at most when we meet her. She's in a perilous situation where she just lost her one companion left in the world and is now about to lose her life. Remember, to us, the viewer, these monsters are just standard fantasy monsters. No big deal. But to them, the monsters within Aincrad are gruesomely detailed to the point where they absolutely look real. Thus, being on the verge of losing her life here is a terrifying event to Silica. But then, out of nowhere, she is saved, and not only that, the kind stranger who saved her is willing to help her get back her beloved companion, something that wouldn't be possible by herself, and he expects nothing in return. Rather, he just seemingly wants the best for her. To Silica, a literal child, Kirito is like a hero or a prince in a fairy tale that saves people and is just. That's literally how she views him. So in this event, she does develop a childish affection for him, but it's not romantic. It's literally on the same level as a 10-year-old schoolboy liking a teacher that was just randomly kind to him one time. If you ask that schoolboy a year later if he loves that teacher romantically, he is obviously going to say no. Same case here. Next is Lisbeth, one of the more obvious ones. She developed romantic feelings for Kirito over their little adventure together. Thus, at that time, she would definitely be down for a taste of that meat. But since Kirito is in a relationship with Asuna, she has ignored that desire, as she doesn't want to try and ruin her best friend's romance. What isn't clear, however, is if she still has those romantic feelings. It's been over 3 years since Aincrad. In that time, she hasn't really indicated at all that she still has feelings for Kirito, but then again, we also just haven't really seen that much of Lisbeth since Aincrad, so who knows? Personally, I don't feel like it's likely that someone can hold on to completely unrequited feelings for 3 years. Now we have Sugaha, probably the most controversial character in this video. I actually did a pretty detailed video recently going over her supposed desire for her cousin's meat. So if you want to fully understand her, I highly recommend watching that. However, I will provide the skinny for you here. No, she does not in fact want to bang her cousin. What we see in Fairy Dance is at first someone who is very confused about their feelings. This is due to her finding out that herself and Kirito are not actually brother and sister. Growing up, Kirito was pretty much the only person that she got to properly interact with since childhood. This was due to her intense dedication to kendo, keeping her so busy that she had no time for anything else. So these two were naturally very close, up until Kirito found out that they were not really brother and sister. The confusion caused him to cut her out of his life. But when he came back from Aincrad, he had a lot of time to reflect on this and decided that burning their bond over something like that was not what he wanted. So when they got close again, Sugaha was very confused about what their relationship should be like and what her feelings even were now that their familial status is much different than it was before. Ultimately, she decides that even if her feelings are romantic in nature, it's not something that she should pursue. So she gets on with it and moves on with her life. Even meets somebody that she goes on a grand adventure with where they have a lot of fun and she develops romantic feelings for him. What was incredibly unlucky for her, however, is that she was essentially accidentally catfished by the very person that she had decided to get over. But now, instead of her feelings being this budding little sprout that she can more easily dismiss, they are now a fully bloomed flower with its roots firmly in place, making it a lot harder and a lot more painful for her to uproot them. But the key factor that so many people seem to miss is, regardless of that, she does indeed move on from those feelings, as she never wanted or intended to fall for her cousin. It was just a very unfortunate situation. Besides, Kirito is deeply in love with his girlfriend Asuna. That's something she doesn't ever want to harm or come between. It's been a very long time since Fairy Dance, and she has long since got over those feelings. Her and Kirito reconciled the rift between them and became proper family. Next is Sanon. This one is so tragically misunderstood that it honestly might deserve its own video. As to claim that she wants Kirito's meat me, you would have to pretty much ignore the entire character arc in Phantom Bullet and view it purely from the perspective of a horny teenager. So I'll go over the two scenes that often get cited for her supposed feelings for Kirito and make it clear why that is not the case. The first is when her and Kirito are hiding in a cave after escaping Death Gun. As you should know, Sanon has been struggling with a very severe case of PTSD since the incident in the post office. However, when she tried GGO on a recommendation as a method to try and move past her PTSD, she found that she was not prone to any symptoms when handling guns in the game. She even found that since she started playing it, she had started making small improvements towards her condition in real life. Her hope was that if she were to conquer really difficult situations in GGO and become strong, Sanon's strength would translate to Ashida Shino and she would be able to overcome her PTSD. That desperate hope would be utterly shattered, however, when she encountered the Black Star pistol in GGO, the very same pistol she had been forced to use on that fateful day. In that moment, she was completely helpless as the fear set in. Any mental barrier she had separating Sanon and Ashida Shino was now gone, but not in the way that she had hoped. In the cave, she's extremely rattled from the panic attack and now faces the prospect of never being able to recover from her PTSD, for she has now lost the only method that she had found in all this time that had somewhat been working for her. These overwhelming emotions of fear invoked by the Black Star pistol bring her right back to that little girl in the post office. The anger at herself, what she perceives to be weakness for succumbing to her PTSD, the sorrow of knowing that her condition will probably never get any better. It was all too much for her to bear in the moment, and she wanted so badly to be comforted by just anyone. So she lays all her emotions bare for Kirito to see, which is also something she was very annoyed at herself for, as she also perceived that as further weakness, but she just couldn't take it anymore. After she tells Kirito about the demons plaguing her, Kirito shares some of his own trauma. I will say here, A1 didn't exactly do the greatest job of communicating such a heavy scene with some of the camera angles they chose. It's rather annoying if I'm being honest, but trust me, this is not a romantic scene at all. Rather, this is more akin to two injured dogs licking each other's wounds. I think some people will point towards the present grenade as evidence of romantic feelings. Let's bookmark that for now, as it will be relevant in the next scene. That being Sanon teasing Kirito after retrieving Excalibur. The anime sadly ruined the gag in this scene, and so a lot of people took what she said at face value, which is honestly pretty tragic because what she did was really funny. You don't get to see that much of it in Phantom Bullet due to the more heavy conflicts at play, but Sanon actually has a rather twisted sense of humor. She's that friend in your friend group who enjoys messing with people and engaging in banter, so when she retrieves Excalibur, she spots Asuna behind Kirito when she's about to give the sword to him. It's in that moment she sees a golden opportunity that was just too tempting to resist. She pulls the sword back and tells him this.
その前に一つだけ約束。この剣を抜くたびに心の中で私のことを思い出してね。
She openly teases Kirito and even gives him a cheeky little wink, all very purposely in front of everyone, but especially Asuna, perfectly baiting out the reaction that she knew full well that she would get, taking great pleasure in both it and the trouble that she has caused for Kirito. What the anime cuts sadly is her laughing at the whole thing and Kirito acknowledging that she has just fully done him here, which is a really weird cut to me as it kind of undermines the whole scene, making her look like she was being genuine rather than just trying to mess with him for her own amusement. But hey, it's not the first weird cut A1 has made with this series, and sadly it was not the last. So yeah, Sanon is in fact not interested in Kirito's meat. They are just buds. Next is Yuki. We don't really need to spend much time here. She barely interacts with Kirito, and if anything you could interpret that she might even have a thing for Asuna. Not really something that I subscribe to personally, given that she sees Asuna in the same light as her sister. So that brings us to our favourite knight in shining armour, Alice Synthesis 30. The misunderstanding of Alice was always a bit confusing to me, as Alice didn't get to interact with Kirito much prior to him becoming a vegetable. When they meet, she thought he was a heinous, detestable criminal. Then they were forced to interact, and and by the end of it she had gained a deep respect for him, due to him opening her eyes to all the sinister things that were going on with the Axiom Church, as well as him and Hugo pretty much sacrificing their lives to save the citizens of the underworld from annihilation. It was a very noble act, and she respected them a lot for it. There is no real chance for their relationship to evolve beyond that though, as straight after that fight, Kirito became a vegetable. She can't go from deep respect to love just from talking to a mindless corpse. The scene people will bring up as evidence for her supposed love for Kirito is when she's with him in the tent prior to the battle against the Dark Territory, but the only way to use this scene as evidence of love is to divorce it from all context. Integrity Knight Alice has been struggling with the intense feeling of guilt ever since finding out that she is not the real Alice per se. Rather, she views it as the real Alice got her body stolen by Quinella when she was synthesized and her memories were stolen. The Night Alice shouldn't exist, and every second that she does is another robbed from the real Alice. Thus, she feels extremely conflicted when it comes to whether or not she should enjoy herself or even do things for her own benefit. Rather, she focuses on how she can serve those around her as a sort of atonement. This mindset leaves her a bit emotionally reserved. Ever since Kirito became a vegetable, she has explored every option that she can think of to try and restore him. Not only did nothing really work, but she also never got even as much as a hint of a reaction from him. So, when Kirito reacts to Broccoli's incarnation, Alice is extremely surprised. She reflects on it and considers that perhaps maybe the reason she's been unsuccessful in reaching Kirito is because thus far, she has not even dealt with her own internal conflict. How can one heal another when they themselves are damaged? So she decides to try and face herself so she can utilize her whole being to try and reach Kirito with incarnation, just like Broccoli did. She makes a little bit of progress, but ultimately she's still not very skilled at utilizing the ability, and as we know, it would take far more to repair Kirito's extremely damaged sense of self. The other scene people will probably bring up is what Alice says in her speech during the press conference. We know the word love in this scene, however, is not referred to in the romantic sense, for several reasons. Firstly, it goes against what we know she thinks of Kirito from all her eternal thoughts that we get throughout this part of the story, since the majority of Alicization post the fight with Quinella is told in the first person from Alice's point of view, so we're inside her head for it. But more importantly, in this novel especially, the word love has pretty much lost all its meaning, for it has been spammed so much for pretty much everyone in literally every context you can think of. I mean, even fucking Vasigo says that he loves Kirito in this novel. Does that mean he wants to bend Kirito over and fill him up like a water balloon? No, very clearly not. The same thing with Alice here. She has repeatedly stated throughout this entire part of the arc is that what she feels for Kirito is deep respect and admiration for what he has done for the underworld. So then, out of the 7 relevant major female characters in the series, how many of them want Kirito's Schmeat? Literally just one, who was his current girlfriend, so if she didn't want his Schmeat, that would be a bit alarming. Maybe you can say 1.5 girls at best if you count Lisbeth, who did fancy a go all the way back in Aincrad, but again, we have no idea if she's still longing for a taste of that donger today, over 3 years later. So yeah, just one girl that definitely loves him. Doesn't really sound like a harm to me. But hey, you just can't win with some people, so let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Hopefully I helped alleviate some confusion started by these shitty SEO hating YouTubers. Please don't forget to like the video so other SEO fans can find it. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers this year and I'm doing everything I can to achieve it. If I do hit it by the end of July, I'll rank every Asuna design while in Asuna cosplay. So with that said, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye bye.